Build it, and they shall come. What on earth is inside this giant box? That is what we're going to find out in this video. I have been so excited to undertake this project for the longest time, and it actually has a really interesting backstory that we'll get into in a little bit. As of right now though, I need to tell you that I've been an absolute massive derp, because this project involves placing over 37,000 blocks. And I've been preparing some rather interesting resources for this. I'll let your mind tick over as to what on earth all of this stuff might get used for. But of all the things that I did have, the most essential resource, the key component to all of this is a material for some reason I thought I had a lot of, and it turns out I have next to none. Obsidian. Obsidian, where are you? I know I've got some lying around here, and I think there's a bit more over here. But this is the problem. This is crying obsidian. Because I have a farm for this and several shulker boxes full of the stuff, I kind of confused myself and thought, oh yeah, I can have no problem getting the obsidian. This is when I realized my mistake and proceeded to head to our gold farm located upon the roof of the Nether. This is one mighty fine contraption. I always love an excuse to visit this spot. You see, this farm not only produces gold, but it also has bartering built in, and it's from the bartering system we can get our hands on some obsidian. So what's the issue? After 12 hours of AFKing, I got myself a full shulker box worth of obsidian. This is my colossal derp moment. I've just managed to completely overlook a massive part of this project. But I believe there is indeed a way we can get our hands on that much obsidian. And by the way, the crying obsidian is useless to us because it emits light, which is something I can't have when we're using the obsidian. So we shall do as we did in Season 7 of Hermitcraft and use the obsidian platform that appears in the end dimension. Let's go ahead and jump on through and oh, what's this? Shenanigans are afoot. This, my friends, is Doc M77's Dragon Egg Duper. And it turns out that this thing is kind of perfect because down here is a shulker box loader, which we would need to take advantage of, right? We want to fill shulker boxes full of obsidian, not dragon eggs. And from what I've been able to learn, it's the string here that is suppressing the creation of the obsidian platform. If we were to remove that string, then it would generate right here. When we break the obsidian, it would literally drop into water streams that then put it into a shulker box loader. This is basically perfect. So I've been investigating how this stuff works, and it turns out that the dragon egg duping takes place at a portal in the overworld. So if we mess with this stuff here, it shouldn't be too difficult just to set it back to how it is, and then we can take advantage of this for our obsidian farm. So I have some preparation to do here to get everything ready, and while I'm sorting that out, I want to tell you a story about the project we're going to do in today's episode. We have to now take a trip back in time, 10 years, to December the 5th, 2012. Okay, this is a game that I released called Rush that I've been playing with friends. So it was a rather simple concept revolving around having a bed on either side and then trying to destroy your opponent's bed to knock them out of the game. This got picked up by a lot of servers and is now commonly known as Bedwars, although the game has obviously evolved a lot over the years. In Rush, things were very simple. You had 3 types of currency that would be given to each team, and they could trade these custom currencies with villagers for varying degrees of items and upgrades. And the other key component, the biggest of all, is the bed. Each team has a bed. This allows you to respawn after death. However, if the other team is able to destroy your bed, then when you die, you don't respawn, and when all of your team are eliminated, that's the end of the game. I absolutely love this concept, and it appeared again in another map of mine called Cube Control. Now, there was another game concept I created at the time that never actually got published. I recall playing it with friends and other YouTubers several times, but I think none of us ever published it to YouTube, so I can't actually find a record of this game. I also had a rummage through many of my old backups, and sadly I couldn't find it here either. And I've just remembered that we've got World Edit, which is going to help me explain this so much better. So the entirety of this game is played inside an obsidian box that players are not allowed to break out of. And the box is filled full of blocks like wood and stone, bookshelves, different ores, things that you can use to progress through the Minecraft tech tree. And these resources were laid out in chunks like so. So this meant that players could come in, they could punch the first few blocks, make a crafting bench, get some wooden tools together, And then as you progress further through the box, you're going to find stone, get up to the next level. And then along with having this contained area to mine through and progress and get armor and weapons, you of course had your bed for your team, which you had to protect. And at the other end of this giant obsidian box is another team, and they have the same thing in front of them. So you can imagine that the box is mirrored, and they too have to dig through, go through this tech tree, and the goal of the game is of course to eliminate the other team's bed and all of their players. So the revelation I've had this season is that we've mined enough blocks and built enough farms to actually recreate this experience in survival Minecraft. The big catch is not that we're going to need stacks of diamonds, we've already got that. It is of course the obsidian. And later on I'll be going into the game design in much more detail because it's a little more complicated than I have explained. But speaking of game design, you know, I'm over here at Decked Out and I'm just thinking, what we're going to do is nothing in comparison to this. I am really excited for this. It's getting closer to completion, but the reason that I'm over here is actually to collect snowballs. And this is from a farm that we created for Joe Hills and Tango earlier in the season. So I've spent a little time over here and I've got my hands on all of this, as well as a whole box of emeralds that Corrales gifted me earlier. That's what we're going to make use of next. And it's all going to make sense. I need the snowballs, I need the emeralds to get the obsidian. Now the last thing I want to do is accidentally break this netherite pick while I'm getting the obsidian. So I want to get my hands on some diamond picks. And this over here is a build made earlier in the season. I think it was Scar, Tango and Grian who worked together on this. It is a villager trading hall, and over here, is it you or this guy? One of these guys. Yes, you sell diamond picks. So we're going to take these emeralds and get some tools. And you know the rest of the deal. I'm going to get some books, some levels, and make a bunch of mining picks. Although I've already got the levels because I've been using the gold farm. So that was easy to take care of. We got 6 of them, and yes, they have mending. If one of these accidentally breaks, that's fine, but I was thinking we also have, there they are, XP bottles, and we could potentially send these through to the end dimension, and when they land on the platform, the player can actually pick it up, so we might be able to automate the repairing of some of these picks. But first of all, we got to get this right here working. And I've done this before in Season 7, except this time it's a bit of a fiasco because you need a chunk loader both here and in the Nether Hub, and that's just going to be a real pain to not mess with the portals that are already here. So I decided to save myself some time, get a little bit cheaty. What I'll probably do is just leave the camera account in this area so that this is loaded and it will be shooting entities through the portal. Now that's why I went and grabbed a bunch of these snowballs, because they will be shot as entities and not items. Another thing I could have done was get a snow golem set up in a boat and have it shoot at another mob that's captured somewhere, and do it in a way where it means the snowball goes through the portal here. I might actually come back to that idea. The reason that I collected snowballs is because I was thinking about the snow golem. It kind of occurred to me, I've got farms that have tons of arrows and they also stack into 64, so I could just shoot arrows through this thing. Now if you're wondering what the hoppers are for, that should be pretty obvious. These are full of snowballs so that we can have a large stockpile of those to keep the farm loaded. Sorry, not loaded. What I mean is to regenerate the obsidian platform over here. Hey, they just got activated. Was that me? I don't think it was. I also don't see the snow. There it is. There it is. Aha. Look, and this was messing with it. So let's get rid of all of these. They seem to be behaving a little funky. Right, we've got most of the platform back now. And now we have all of the platform. I now need to figure out the timing of this thing and optimize the redstone clock on the other side. As you saw there, it could probably do with a little more delay. Oh, and that reminds me. I need to get a beacon set up over here. Well, there we go. Beacon in place for haste, regeneration, and resistance. The rafts are also gone. And just down here at the shulker box loader, I have cleared out all of the dragon eggs. They are now up the top here. I then added 150 empty shulker boxes for the obsidian. So now it's time to start mining, I think. We will need to build up the area at the front here, make it a little safer, just in case, you know, Endermen teleport right in front of us, which could be a problem. So this is now my fate, to stand here and mine indefinitely. The timing is perfect. As you can see, we get the block at the very end there, right before the snowball comes through and reactivates the platform again. So more modifications were required to make sure that all of the obsidian gets picked up. That's why we got these water streams. And yes, that's who you think it is. I got a little helper to come on here and help me get more of the obsidian. This platform actually supports 5 people at once, so if ever you needed an insane amount of obsidian, there is indeed a way. However, my next up is with my maths. We no longer need Evil X's help. I have outdone myself twice in this episode, for I did not need 150 boxes. I only needed 150 stacks. When I was using the calculator, writing down numbers and notes, I just managed to cross my wires and confuse myself. So yeah, I was sitting down thinking over these numbers again, and I was just like, this is such an insane amount of blocks. Surely what I'm building is not this big. So I'm going to revert some of the changes that I've made over here, and I think we can safely say that Hermitcraft is never going to need an obsidian farm again. When I'm done with what I needed, I think I'm just going to give the rest away for anyone who ever needs it. So not only is this one of my greatest Hermitcraft projects, but also one of my greatest derps, or double derp as it would seem. However, this has not deterred me from cracking on with all of this obsidian, and so now we're going to blitz through the process of placing this all down in the world, which doesn't really make for a great time-lapse, right? But let's take a trip on through the Rainbow Road, which I absolutely adore, and off into the distance. And of course, it's nighttime, which isn't great for obsidian on a dark sky. Okay, quick nap at the dunk tank. And if we continue heading on in this direction, which is behind my base, you will see it right here, the obsidian platform. Now, the reason I built this thing so high up in the sky is because mobs can technically spawn inside of this. Although there are torches to stop that right now, but that will be a factor in the game that we are creating. If I go ahead and enable the schematic I used to build this, you can see that I've used some color wall here to sort of segment these sections, which I believe are 9 blocks deep each and every time. There are 12 of them in total, and then when we get to the middle, this area is going to divide up the 2 halves for each team, and it's going to be made completely out of glass blocks. Although maybe there'll be a few extra things in it. So remember how this was about destroying the other team's bed and eliminating all of its players? They're going to have their bed and some starter food in this starting section, and then each one of these continuous sections they will have to dig through as a team and unlock parts of the tech tree. So I'm going to build this one by one and explain how the Minecraft tech tree works. First up, we have oak logs. This is pretty straightforward. What's the first thing you got to do in Minecraft when you don't have any blocks? You got to punch wood and make your first wooden tools. Next up, you might be expecting cobblestone, but no, we're going for melons, which is food, and we're using planks to continue the wood theme, but nestled in and among them are some bookshelves that will drop books, which can be enchanted later on. Finally, we have stone, which can be used to make the next tier of tools and weapons, but there's also cobwebs, which can be broken down into string, and there's gravel, which can yield flint. And flint is a part of the component for making arrows. So when we go into the cobble layer, that's where we'll start to get iron to get to the next step in the tech tree. Iron armor, iron tools, and inside the chests, each of those have 5 feathers, which enables the players to craft arrows. Then things get a bit abstract, because here we have sand and sandstone. The sand can be used for TNT later on. The hay bales are actually a food source because you can craft them down into bread, and then the gold will be useful later on too. So then we move on to the tough layer. Yes, that's right, constructed entirely out of tough blocks. In and amongst here is lots of coal, so now smelting items will be easier, and there's lapis too, which is of course an important part of enchanting. We follow this up with smooth basalt, and you'll notice there's chests as well as obsidian mixed in and among this stuff. The chests have 5 gunpowder each for that TNT I mentioned, and the obsidian here isn't touching the outside wall, so it can be mined and used for an enchanting table. Next up we have basalt, and mixed among it are iron blocks and deep slate iron ore, so another layer dedicated to getting more iron. I'm thinking at this point you can start to use the anvil to combine some enchantments and make your gear a little stronger. Alright, cobbled deep slate and diamonds. A rather generous amount here too. I might have overdone it. You can get diamond ore and diamond blocks, and at this point I think probably both teams can get enough to get decked out in diamond gear. Now we have another layer of deep slate, and it's got redstone mixed among it. That's simply just to get you some more XP for enchanting and whatnot. The chests, they contain 1 apple each. So with that and the gold that we found earlier, golden apples are going to be a thing in our game. And the very last layer is composed of deep slate tiles, and in and amongst it, some lapis for enchanting. Again, that's the second time we've dropped lapis into this. So if you were paying attention, you would have noticed that each section is comprised of 1 main material. That is actually very intentional. I did some last minute rearranging of the resources. I figured it would be good for the players to know where they need to go to get particular resources, as previously I did actually have many more of these things sort of overlap and mix amongst the different layers, and then I decided to make them really distinguished. So you know, if you come to this layer, you're getting the materials you found last time you were next to the smooth basalt. So thanks to all of that rearranging of materials, I ended up with 1 less layer. So the middle area here that's currently open is going to be bigger, but now that I can see it, I think it's a good distance to look across, because it's going to be filled in with glass. We're of course going to remove this beacon, and there is something else I want to put in here. It was tempting to put a chest in the middle with a totem of undying, but I kind of felt it was a little bit overpowered, and forever who gets there first. It is a huge advantage, but we are going to put something probably in the middle and at either ends as well. And that will be glowstone, which I have plenty of here. Why glowstone though? Because it can be used to make glowing arrows. Or should I say spectral arrows? Oh yeah, I guess my bow's kind of killer, right? Aha! This is really cool when you're fighting hostile mobs, because if they don't die straight away, then they glow and you know where they're at. And that's a pretty cool advantage, because it doesn't particularly make you stronger, but if you shoot your opponents, they'll be glowing for a while, and that might reveal something about the layout of the tunnels that are going to emerge inside of this big chunk of blocks. So hopefully now you're starting to see how the game will play out. There'll be a network of tunnels, the team will have to defend their bed while gearing up, and eventually take out the team on the opposite side. I'm very excited to get this going, but we still have more work to do in the middle. Of course, the obsidian situation is no issue for us when it comes to putting a roof on. We just need a ton of glass. Hello, hi, there he... Oh, he hasn't got the voice mod. It's been a minute since I've flown back this way. God, it looks so good at night, right? This is definitely one of my weirdest bases ever. Let's say that. Anyways, glass. Yeah, not any glass. We need the black stained glass. And as you know, we got an ink sac farm, so I've got plenty of this. That's not an issue. If you're wondering about the rest of the materials, they're just stuff that I've accumulated over the season. I've actually exhausted all of my cobbled deep slate now. Luckily, we got a whole bunch of that from our recent wither mining escapade, so that came in really handy. And the mega furnace array has come in to do its job. Although, wait, where did I put all this stuff? Okay, it was sitting down here. Yeah, we basically need like over three and a half boxes of glass for this one. Right, no time lapse for this one. We've done plenty of that this episode. Speaking of which, I've actually been keeping track of how much time I put into this. And let's go ahead and add up all of these for the time lapse you saw earlier. Wow, in total, this thing has taken me about 10 hours to put together. And I'm not doing one of those, oh my god, I put so much time into this episode things. You may have noticed that I have just decided to upload less Hermitcraft, and I'm just focusing on doing exactly what I want to and having fun with my time. And this is just what I wanted to do next. And it's not finished just yet. I've of course got to put the obsidian roof up the top here, and then I've got to create some instructions and ways to get to either end of this platform for the players. But I am getting ahead of myself because of the glass. Yes, it's been fully filled in. Let me correct myself. And yeah, not a crazy amount of glowstone. There's also just glass on the inside there. So that's a total of 6 blocks, 12 in the middle, and then 6 on the other side. Alright, we're on the home stretch now. Just filling in this roof, then creating the instructions for playing, a few more bits and bobs, and it's almost finished. Well then, looks like I've got to round up the hermits to get them to play. Some of the stuff in this book might be subject to change though, but if you would like to pause the video and read each of the pages, I've put in some instructions, some tips, some rules, and whatnot. There you go. Yeah, I might decide that I can make things a little clearer, so some of that might get revised, but you get the gist. Also, 1.20, you can just right-click, so there are 5 double chests for players to put their items in, which I guess isn't explained in here, but the idea is that the players can come, read over this thing, and of course I will be here to introduce everyone to the game, ask their questions, instruct them to put their items in these chests. Because once done, they'll be heading all the way over to the end here. There is a little platform to walk off the side, and then you can go into this room. There is no button on the other side though, so once you go in, you can't escape. That's probably a rule I'll say as well. You can't break the iron door. So the team will have some starter food in this chest. They will set their spawn in this bed, which they can move. And then they have to start punching some wood, right? And going through each of the layers and discovering all of the resources. And then eventually the other team at some point around the middle. I am so very excited, not only for the hermits to play this, but the potential of just taking this idea, putting it into a regular world, and playing some off Hermitcraft variations of this too. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. For now, I think the project is finished and ready to play. I may also be looking into preserving this with a structure block or something along those lines so that you could restore it in the world download. I think that would be pretty cool. Then you could play it with your friends. But let's talk about where we are right now, the back of Cubfan's museum, where he has either pinched or cloned actual buildings that have been built on other parts of Hermitcraft, like this from Tango's Decked Out. It is a wild project, and Cub is just making an amazing spot, again, talking about the world download, to come and visit, because it's just full of things that relate to the Hermitcraft story, the Hermitcraft history. And here, the voice of the museum, which is actually us hermits. We've been asked to create a book, and mine is my Season 9 soundtrack. Yeah, this is basically the music that I've been listening to the most during my times on Hermitcraft this season. So when I listen to these artists, I can really visualize some of the projects that I was working on at the time. So I'm supposed to deposit this somewhere around here. Yeah, I think this is the right spot. This is definitely a memory, or at least how my memory works with music. And seriously joking, a book without paradoxes. Oh, maybe they just go in here. I was pulling out books from the bookshelf, right? But they're all written by Cubfan. Whereas here, yeah, this is probably where I'm supposed to drop this off. So with that taken care of, we reach the end of the episode. And I don't think there's too much more to say other than be on the lookout for some of the other Hermits episodes, as hopefully they'll be posting the game that we have created today. And so on that note, subscribe if you want to catch future Hermitcraft episodes, leave a like to support the video, and I'll see ya in the future with another one. Bye bye!